The operational problem is real. It needs to be addressed structurally. But if you only address it structurally without touching the identity layer underneath, the business finds a way to reconstruct the same problem in a new form. Most founders I work with have already done a lot of the work on their business before they even find me. They've hired people, built systems, taken courses, worked with coaches. They know what a well-run business is supposed to look like. And still, there's something that is not working when everything should be. The team is not operating independently, the decisions are slow, the revenue has plateaued, or the growth feels more like chaos than it should at this stage in their business. There's always something that needs them personally involved before it can move. So they go looking for operational fix, right? A better project management system, a different organizational chart, a cleaner process, another hire. And sometimes that helps for a little while. But here's what I found over and over again working with founders at this level. The operational problem is almost never just an operational problem. There's almost always an identity layer underneath it. A set of beliefs, patterns, and ways to operate that are quietly driving every structural decision that the founder makes. And until that layer gets addressed, the systems do not stick. The delegation doesn't hold. The business keeps restructuring the same problem in a slightly different form. This is what today's episode is about. Welcome to Accidental CEO. I'm Nata Salvatore, and let's get into it. So we're going to start with what we mean by operational problem. Let me start by being very specific about what I mean when I say that. I'm not talking about your bookkeeping. I'm not talking about your tech stack or whether your CRM is set correctly. I'm talking about the structural patterns in how a business actually functions day to day. And the ones I see most consistently in established founder-led businesses look like this. The founder is still the first person that their team comes to for every decision, even decisions that the team should be able to make on their own. Delegation keeps breaking down, things get handed off and then quietly drift back into the founder's plate, or they get handed off and get done wrong, and then the founder decides it's easier to just do it themselves. Processes exist in the founder's head, but not anywhere else. So the business can only run at the pace and the quality that one person can personally hold. There is no real structure for growth. New revenue or new opportunities actually create chaos instead of momentum because the back end was never built to handle it. Growth stalls at a ceiling that keeps moving just a bit further every time the founder gets closer to it. And these are the kinds of problems that look operational. And they are operational, but there are also something else behind the scenes. Because here's the thing I want you to notice. Every single one of those problems has the founder at the center of it. The founder is the one making every decision. The founder is the one taking things back. The founder is the one whose head all the knowledge lives in. And the founder is the one whose capacity is the ceiling. So the question is not just what is the right system to put in place. The question is, why does this founder keep ending up here, regardless of what system they put in place? That is where identity comes in. So what identity has to do with anything, right? When I use the word identity in a business context, I do not mean your personality. I do not mean how you present yourself or what you believe in about who you are as a person. I mean the operating system underneath your decisions. The set of beliefs usually formed by long before you were even a business owner. That shapes what feels safe, what feels dangerous, and what feels like your job and what you are willing to let go of. And the reason this matters for your business is that your operating system runs your business whether you like it or not, whether you're aware of it or not. So let me give you some concrete examples of what this looks like so maybe you can pinpoint if that's happening in your business. Take delegation. The operational problem is things do not get done well when I hand them off. So the founder does not delegate effectively. But what is actually running underneath that usually is one of a few things. Sometimes it is, if I'm not involved, the quality will drop. And somewhere underneath that, there's a belief that high standards require my personal presence. The only way to ensure something is done right is to be doing it myself. And sometimes it is that if I let go, I will not be needed. And underneath that is a version of identity that has built its sense of value around being the one who holds everything. And sometimes is that if I've tried delegation and it has not worked, I decide that it's not going to just be something I'm going to do anymore. I'm not going to be someone who has a team. And underneath that, it's a story about capability that is driving every hiring and delegation decision. None of these are visible on the surface. All of them are shaping the business. So here's another one, decision making. The operational problem is decisions are slow. There is no clear decision framework. Things get delayed. But what is running underneath it? Often it's a belief that making the wrong decision means something about you as a person. That a bad call is not just a bad call. It's evidence of something. And so the founder keeps gathering more information, asking more people, running more scenarios because the stakes of getting it wrong feel much higher than they actually are. And that's not a process problem. That is an identity problem. And you can install the most elegant decision framework in the world, and it will not fix that. The same thing is true with the team dynamics, with capacity, with the ceiling that keeps following the founder around no matter how much the business grows. The pattern is almost always the same. The operational problem is real. It needs to be addressed structurally. But if you only address it structurally without touching the identity layer underneath, the business finds a way to reconstruct the same problem in a new form. I've watched founders build beautiful systems and then quietly undermine them 6 months later. Not because they're self-sabotaging, because the identity that built the system in the first place was never updated to trust it. Now let's talk about the 3 places this shows up. I see the identity layer show up most clearly in these 3 areas. And I want to walk you through each one of them so you can start to recognize it in your own business. The first one is capacity, not calendar capacity. Kind of capacity that rest does not fully fix. You're exhausted even when your schedule does not look like that full. You're constantly scanning for what you could go wrong. You swing between overdoing and crashing, and you tell yourself you'll feel better once you get caught up. And caught up never quite comes. The operational fix people reach for here is usually time management, a better calendar system, a blocking time, batching tasks. But what is actually running underneath is usually a belief that growth has to be held through effort. That if you stop pushing, something will fall apart. That your value to the business is directly tied to how hard you work. Believe me, I've been there. And when that belief is running the show, no amount of calendar restructuring solves the problem. Because the problem is not the calendar. The problem is that you have not given yourself permission to be supported at a level that your business actually needs. This episode is brought to you by my one-on-one Freedom First Leadership Coaching. This is for founders who are still the glue in their company and want to become the calm, precise CEO. Together, we will redesign your role, install clean decision rights, and delegate outcomes with a clear definition of done. You'll leave with a weekly operating cadence, a 90-day plan, and the confidence to scale without being on call to everything. If you want high standards at a human pace, apply now at accidentalceo.co/coaching. That's accidentalceo.co/coaching. The second one is team. When things get calm, most founders feel that they delegate reasonably well. When stakes go up, old patterns come back very fast. You hand something off and then quietly take it back 3 days later. You delegate a task, but not the real ownership. Your standards live entirely in your head, so no one can actually execute to it. And your team keeps waiting for you before they move. The operational fix is usually a better onboarding process, some clear SOPs, a different communication tool. What is almost always running is some version of If I'm not holding it, it will fall apart. Or being the one who knows everything is part of how I feel valuable here. Or I've been let down by people before, and some part of me is not willing to fully trust someone else with this. Operational structure can support the shift, but the shift itself has to happen in the identity level. Your standards have to move from living in your head to living in your systems. And that requires genuinely trusting the system, which requires examining why you do not trust it yet to begin with. And the third area is decision making. This one is sneaky because it looks like diligence, like being thorough, like responsible leadership. But what I often see is founders making decisions from a place of trying to avoid pain rather than lead forward. Circling the same decision for weeks, asking too many people for input, committing and then changing course. Researching more, planning more, thinking more, and still not moving. The operational fix is a decision framework, clear criteria, a defined process. But underneath the delay is usually a story that sounds something like this. If I choose wrong, I will lose the momentum I have worked so hard to build. Or if I commit to this and it doesn't work, it means I was wrong and I cannot afford to be wrong. Sustainable leadership is not built on certainty, people. It is built on the ability to make a call, see what happens, adjust if needed, and keep moving. But a founder who's running on belief that their worth is tied to being right cannot operate that way. So they delay. And a delay costs more than the decision ever would have. One of the reasons this is so hard to address is because it is genuinely hard to see it from the inside. The beliefs I'm describing are not ones that most founders hold consciously. They do not sit in the morning and think, today I will not delegate because my identity requires me to be involved in everything. They believe just quietly shapes every decision. And the decision looks from an outside or from the inside like a perfectly reasonable operational choice. Not delegating looks like I just need someone who can actually execute at my level. Taking things back looks like it is faster if I just do it. Slow decisions look like I'm being strategic. And overfunctioning looks like I have high standards. All of those things might be partially true. But there are also cover stories for something running at a deeper level. And this is why I work with an intersection of operation and identity. Because if you only address the operations, you get a business that looks more organized for a while and then quietly slides right back into the same pattern. And if you only address the identity without building the structure to support the shift, the insight does not land anywhere. You feel clear for a few weeks, and then the business pulls you back into the operational mode. Both have to be together, the structure and the identity, the system and the person running it. That's the work I find most meaningful and most effective. Not handing someone a framework and wishing them luck, but actually sitting in the complexity with them, finding what's running underneath, and then building something that holds. So what does a shift actually look like in a practical way? I wanted to leave you with something concrete because this can start to feel abstract and I do not want to feel like that. The shift is not a personality overhaul. It's not years of therapy before you can run your business well. It is much more specific than that. It starts with getting honest about which pattern is the loudest right now. Is it capacity? Is it team? Is it decision making? Usually one area is more activated, even if all of those are involved. Then it's about naming the belief underneath it, not blaming yourself for it, not analyzing where it came from. Just naming it clear enough that it stops running the show from the background. And then it's about making a different decision, not a perfect decision, a decision that is more aligned with the leader your business actually needs right now, even if it feels uncomfortable. Because identity does not shift in a single breakthrough moment. It shifts through repeatable decisions made while you feel uncomfortable, through choosing to trust the system you build, through letting go of something that felt like your job and watching the business not fall apart. That is the work. It is some of the most important work founders at this level can do. I want to close with this. If you have been working on the operational side of your business for a while and things keep reconstructing themselves in the same shape, that is information. It is worth getting curious about what is driving there. You're probably not missing a system. You might be missing a clear look at what's underneath the system. And that's a very different kind of work. The way I do that work with founders is a lot of times through a CEO Reset VIP day. This is a 4-hour working session where we look at both layers, the operational structure and the identity running. We build something that holds, not just for a few months, for the next stage of your business. If you're a founder who has built something real and you're ready to stop being the thing that your business cannot grow past, this is exactly what that VIP day does for you. The link is in the show notes, so go check it out. And if you're someone who's further along and what you actually need is a dedicated partner helping you build this over time, not just for a day, but for the arc, I also work with founders in a longer engagement. That information is on my website at accidentalceo.co/coaching. Either way, I hope this episode gave you the language for something you have been feeling, but maybe have not fully named yet. We'll see you next week. And that's a wrap for today's episode of the Accidental CEO podcast. Thanks for hanging out with us in the world where creativity and business strategy collide. I am Nata Salvatore, thrilled to have shared this time with you. Remember, every episode is a step closer to mastering the art of being an accidental CEO. So don't miss out. Hit subscribe, drop us a sweet review, and spread the word to your creative tribe. Your next big breakthrough could be just one episode away. Join us next time for more insights, laughs, and actionable tips. Keep pushing boundaries, dreaming big, and embracing the beautiful chaos of entrepreneurship. Here's to make magic happen in your business and beyond.